All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the 42 Days of Magical Practice. We're on day number 24 and I hope it's going well for you. Hope you're enjoying all the exercises. And today we're going to take another look at the exercise of focus, and we're going to talk about how to integrate the exercises into your daily life so that it's not just periods of practice. We didn't really talk about that before, but again, we've kind of been following this format of introducing a new technique and then looking at doing it in like in the morning and then in the evening in these kind of timed chunks. And then how do you make it part of your daily life so that it's not just this kind of separate activity that happens, at this special time, and then I live my life, and then,
Right.
So how do you maximize your effectiveness throughout the day? So
And I think, again, just again, tapping on that idea of sort of, in a way, understanding that idea of attenuation and how do we sort of dissipate that a bit, and by touching on it on a fairly regular basis throughout the day and integrating it into your daily life, so it's not just a separate thing but becomes your life. It becomes all day long. Everything you do has an effect, and when you know that, you can say that you're living in the now or any of these other ideas, but the idea is that in the end, how do you transition from where you are right now, or people who even have an exercise practice, right? And it's like, I go at the end of the day, I go at the beginning of the day, I do this, I do that, but then through the course of the day, are they sort of tapping on certain muscle groups during the day, and what are they doing to sort of become physically fit all day long, moving around? I mean, in being physical, again, it would be almost better if throughout the day there were like little segments of activity rather than just being sedentary for 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever your shift is, and then doing an exercise routine either in the morning beforehand or after. Obviously there's some benefit to in certain building exercises or whatever to have a certain amount of time to do that and really concentrate and focus on those things. But I think in most cases, really switching it up and sort of having this mobility factor and in a physical sense, through the day would be a much better way of achieving long-term fitness goals rather than these chunks of time. And so with energetic practice, it's the same thing, even more so, that you don't want to isolate it from one thing to the next. You want to sort of integrate it with the rest of your life. So, which brings us to today, right?
Right.
How do we imbibe this technique of focus in our daily routine? And so I found that there's always a number of ways to do that. But one of the easiest ways to do that, could you bring the cards in and do that on your desk? You could, if you have a way to isolate yourself or whatever, but eventually if somebody notices it, you don't want it to be like, I'm hiding this or I'm doing that, but the idea is to do it sort of a little bit, just blending it in so well that it's not going to be something that's sort of, you stand out and you get a lot of questions about that. So you don't have to bring the cards in to do that. You can switch it to, what I usually do during the day is I'll switch it to focusing on any kind of text that I have, on my desk or whatever I'm reading at the time or whatever's going on. And it's very simple. So, and again, it's a 1-minute exercise, right? So I have my little bit of focus in the beginning of the day, a little bit of focus that's condensed at the end of the day, but then how am I, pinging on that exercise throughout the day to sort of continue that momentum and build it up even more so. So I only have a minute to do it if I'm going to hold myself to that timing, right? A minute once an hour, or starting off with a couple times a day, or the routine now. So it's like, what do I do in that minute? If it takes 10 seconds to set up the car, or pull them out from wherever you have them and you don't need to do that. So I just use text. And so whatever I have in front of me, book, piece of paper, printed off the printer, whatever it is, chart, whatever it is, doesn't matter. So, and from there, I'm just focusing on each letter of, let's say, just the top line. So in this case, I just wrote it out so I want to be clear so you understand what's going on. So I just made this up. I'm not a big fan of catfish, but you know, just anyway. So whatever you have in front of you. So it's like, I'll focus, today's menu, right? I'm going to focus on the T. Then I just spend a second or so on that. A couple seconds on the T. Then I'm going to focus on the O, a couple seconds. Focus on the D, and on and on and on. When I get to a break between words, I'm focusing on the space between the words. And so, and then moving on to the next letter, and then moving on to the next letter, moving on to the next letter, moving on to the next letter, focusing on the space at the end, and then I continue down to the next one. You could repeat the same one over again. It's really just about, it's not about the words, it's obviously about focusing on a very, you know, finite space. And you're going to notice a very funny sensation that when you go from focusing on a letter, even though it's only for a few seconds, when you hit the space, you're going to feel this sort of even more relaxed opening happen when you're focused on the space, because there's nothing there to focus on except the space. So you're getting that sort of flip side, right? In little tiny increments. Focus on a very fine thing, and then in this blank space, it sort of allows you to just, you know, your mind goes to something else. It just sort of opens up. It's like a little mini no thoughts. Because, and you actually feel a physical sensation of this sort of opening. Sometimes people will feel it around the head or third eye. Maybe it's just a relaxing of the eyes or a combination of those things. But it's a very simple practice to do. And literally, you know, how many times could I get through this, let's say, top line in, you know, 60 seconds? I might be able to, you know, have that experience of, you know, 6 letters and then a break, and then 6 letters and then a break. That's the whole idea. So I'm just trying to do that for a few seconds, focusing, then just relaxing and focusing on the empty space. So I'm getting that both sides. And that's it. It's a really simple exercise. You're going to see how it's going to really increase your focus when you go back to the numbers at home. So for me, I don't carry all that stuff around with me. You know, it's like, not that you couldn't, you know, simply draw out the numbers at the office or whatever it is, but why do that? Why not use something that's just readily available for you right there, and you can utilize it, and it'll make your day go easier. You're going to be able to ping on that on a regular basis, and it's going to, again, you know, there are so many benefits to that. You're sort of bringing it into your waking day. It's throughout your day. It's not just these times that are special for me. It's like, make every moment special for you. Make every moment in your day. There are no ordinary moments, right? Dan Millman. So it's like, again, there are no ordinary moments. Make every moment special for you. You know, if you're going to integrate this into your life, you want it to be integrated in every aspect of your life. So how can I do that? You know, I'm working on these specific exercises. I'm understanding it. I'm integrating it. I'm trying to learn more about it and have a better intellectual understanding of it and a better practice of it. But then there's also the practice of bringing it into your life, not making it a separate component that you put away someplace later on. It's in every aspect of what you do. And that's it. So remember, it's really easy to meditate in an environment that's conducive to that. So, you know, if you're in these high-walled monasteries where everybody's doing the same thing, that's a pretty easy environment to entrain to. It's a hell of a lot harder to do that in a busy parking lot. But most of us don't live behind high walls, right? So, you know, the busy parking lot is a common thing for us. So if you can't walk in the busy parking lot in that state that you can achieve behind high walls, then I would say the practice is not as practical as it could be. So again, because we don't spend most of our time there. Most of us don't spend most of our time there. If that's your environment, then that's your environment. You're probably not watching this video because you already have it down. So, but you're also probably not going to be involved in all the other things in life that we're involved in. So that's sort of the thing. So I always think, how can I integrate it into, these aspects, these environments that I'm moving through on a regular basis, whether they be work or relationships or, just shopping with other people around and all of that. How do I carry this through? Is it helping me in some way in my everyday life? And that's always, again, that practical aspect for me. How do I move through life with this as my primary mode of maneuvering, through that and staying in the place that I want to be, and engaging it as high a level as I can.
It's kind of like you're strengthening the muscles of your inner world.
Yeah.
Your resolve to be in control of your own state.
Right, exactly. You have to be. I mean, you really have to be. I mean,
because how do you become, how do you stay in this place of peace or fullness or, happiness or whatever, like you said, like in a busy parking lot or something.
Right. I mean, people strive all the time. Like, again, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's at the same time, right? Like if people are trying to experience, lucid dreaming compared to, either regular chaotic dreams or even just vivid dreams, right? They're looking for control. How do I, it's not just enough to get there, but how do I get there, stay there as long as I want, and be able to do what I want while I'm there? It's control. And the same thing here, right? We're trying to make the same thing here. Most people feel that this place is happening to them constantly. And, and they're just trying to avoid the big hits.
Right.
They're dodging more than they're actively going after things.
Right.
They're just dodging and trying to stay alive. And so, no, you need to, in order to turn the tables and switch that and make it your place, this is your dream. This is your reality. So, get in there and go for it. Learn the techniques that will help you maneuver and get to where you want to go.
Learn the techniques that'll make it that way.
Yeah, you need to be able to function here, whatever it is, or get yourself off to a somewhere, or a hermitage, or whatever it is. Withdraw from this type of existence. And if you can't do it, if it's, or not, and embrace your suffering or whatever it is, that's okay too. Everybody's a little bit different. This is not for everyone. It can be for everyone. I think anybody can do this, but it does take effort, and you do have to find some value in it, but I would say that's true of almost anything, right? Any philosophy that you want to, kind of grab onto and use as your own philosophy. I mean, it doesn't do anything to just academically understand it. I mean, you have to apply it, and it has to help you in your everyday existence. Otherwise, what the hell good is it? If it doesn't help you, if you're beating some old lady after you come out of daily mass, because she took your parking spot, I'm not really sure that you're in the right place. It's like, it doesn't go along with the philosophy. Your action doesn't go along with that helping you somehow. So at least if you're going to stand by that sort of philosophy. So it's, and I mean, I would like to apologize for being so irreverent, but I just can't anymore, because it's like, and I'm equal opportunity with all of these things, and including and foremost,
what do you mean by all of these things?
Just people in general glomming onto some type of, or being conditioned to think in a way, put themselves in the place of belonging to either one of these larger institutions,
like a religion.
Yeah, a religion, Christianity, Muslim, Buddhist, name them. There's a lot of them, right? And even the smaller societies, and I'm most hard on those, on those esoteric societies that, they're just, when you hear them speak or when you hear them blog or whatever it is, it's just this vitriolic, ridiculousness about credentials and traditions and, you know, who's got what and what's got, you know, it's like, oh my God, it's just so ridiculous after a while. I thought the whole point was to lead by example, to show that in doing this, you're leading a good life. And, you know, and in doing so, other people would look at that and say, oh, you know, somebody would come up and say, wow, you know, it looks like you're doing pretty good, you know. How do you do that? You know, I admire the way you handled that situation or whatever it is. Oh, do you really want to know? I'll tell you how I do it. I do this and this and this and this, you know, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Judaism, whether it's whatever, you know, they live by their rules that they've taken on for themselves, and you see it expressed in their daily existence, not just in the temple, not just in the, you know, whatever, the church or whatever it is. So, I mean, that's the thing. I think, again, that practical aspect for me sort of overrides all of these other things. I mean, yes, you know, when it comes to technique, you know, what works? But again, to extend that idea, is it working in your life? You know, if I can focus on a number, hopefully that will suggest that when I get to work, I can focus on what I'm doing, that I have less distraction, that I'm more efficient, I'm more effective at what I do. You know, because I can block those other things out. I can choose what's important and I focus on that for an extended period of time or whatever it is, for the time it takes to achieve that end result. And then I let it go. I move to the next thing, you know, and when I take a break, I'm completely taking a break, right? I'm relaxed. I'm not worried about, when I'm relaxing, I'm not thinking about making my shopping list or whatever it is. When I'm relaxed, I'm relaxed. I'm able to take each of those things and do them at the highest level that I can achieve at the time, and then integrate them into my daily life. It will just give you a life experience that I feel, for myself anyway, is really, you know, a good level of experience. And it's just one way. I'm not saying that any of these others can't do the same. It's just, but you have to apply them in order for that to be the case. It can't just be an intellectual exercise. You have to act the way that you train. You know, training is good, you'll have a good reaction. Training is bad, bad reaction. So it's the same thing with any of these things. So, you know, what's the old biblical line? You know, you shall know them by their fruits that they bear, right? So it's like, what kind of tree is it? I don't know. Let me see, you know, what it actually manifests. What kind of fruit does it manifest? What does it create? Is it an apple? Is it a pear? Is it a peach? You know, that's the thing. You know, it may look like something, but it may produce something completely different. So, you know, is it good fruit? Is it rotten fruit? Whatever, you know. And I think that, you know, we lose track of that. You know, we just sort of hang our hat on our acceptance or saying that we belong to this or that, but when it comes to expressing those ideas in daily life, it goes by the wayside. So I think this idea of imbibing, and I hope it comes through, that this idea of imbibing is, how do you bring what you do into your everyday existence? It's not just a training aspect. That's just, how do you integrate your training into your daily life? But after the 1 minute of training is done, how do you then bring that focus and the state of relax into what you're going to do next? You know, are you right back on the computer and distracted by YouTube? You know, or the next little caption that comes under, you know, your page that comes up when you turn on the computer? Or you're able to focus and get to work, you know, and really be efficient and get it done twice as fast, you know, and better. Right. You know, so that's the thing. Where's the transference into, you know, what we do here? I think that's important to sort of keep in mind, you know, because it makes it relevant for you at this point, you know, relevant for all of us. If we could all do that, regardless of what we practice, you know, I think the world would be a little bit different. And we'd be less critical of everything else. You know, we'd be more concerned about, what's my impact in the world? What's my impact on myself and my family and my work and all of these things? And then let that just speak for itself. You know, why are you so concerned with all these other things when you don't have your own house in order? Doesn't make any sense to me. So it could just be an old guy, you know, spouting off.
Yeah.
Maybe. So that's it. So, I mean, you know, the imbibing technique for this is really quite simple, as you can see. And of course, it doesn't have to be text. It could be any little thing that you want to focus on. And then, you know, I could focus on the light switch and then focus on the blank wall, focus on the light switch, focus on the blank wall.
Right.
See the difference between the two things. It could be anything. Use your imagination, whatever feels comfortable for you. I just gave you one example that's simple that you could do anywhere. I mean, most places you can find some text or something that's written so that you can, again, serves two purposes in being able to focus and then relax, but it's also something that's so common for us.
Right.
That we wouldn't normally think of it as a training tool.
Right, right, right.
And I find that, again, the value in using ordinary objects as training tools are, you know, is incredibly effective. Especially when it doesn't have a sort of, again, that sort of moral value to it. It's just text. We read stuff all the time.
Right.
But can we use it to really hone our focus? And then how do I then extend that into my world after that? You know? I think that's the key. That's all I got for today.
That's all he's got, folks. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Enjoy imbibing, focus,
Right.
and good luck.
And
with
welcome
it.
with any questions. Again,
always,
you know,
always.
always. Any stories, any questions you have, absolutely get a hold of us and happy to answer them.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you guys tomorrow.